Hi, it's great to be here tonight. So tonight's theme is urban revitalization. Great choice, by the way. And I want to talk about what design can do. I'm an urban designer. I teach here in NJIT's College of Architecture and Design. And tonight I'm going to present one project and talk and describe how this project identifies ways that we can improve revitalization processes. Now, questions of how to improve cities and regions, they're more important than ever before. We know that all of the great resources that come with urban development, these are things like improvement of life quality and expansion of life chances. These things are not accessible to all. And this accessibility is tied to space. So what I want to do is talk about how we can design spaces that are more inclusive and more participatory. And I also want to talk about how we can design new tools and new methods to increase inclusion and participation. So I want to talk about design, and I want to talk about the design of tools. So I'm going to talk about this one project. Let me start by talking about this one project. And this project addresses some of these questions about inclusion and participation, perhaps in some unexpected ways. This is a project that I did in collaboration with my two partners, Tobias Ambors and Daniel Dioka. They're my partners at Interboro. It's an architecture, urban design, and planning firm. And this project was selected as the winner of the Young Architects Program. This is a program that is run by the Museum of Modern Art, and we were the winners in 2011. The project was called Holding Pattern. Some of you may be familiar with this. The Young Architects Program and MoMA, they commission an architecture firm every year to design a setting for a series of performances that they hold in the museum's courtyard. This series is called Warm Up. And this series happens throughout the summer, and every Saturday about 6,000 people come into this courtyard and they enjoy the event. So it's a temporary program. So the designers are asked to build a setting, and then at the end of the summer it's disassembled, and that's typically the end. So for us, the question of temporary projects always is, what happens to all this great stuff after the project is over? Does it get thrown out? And then we also asked ourselves in the context of this project, could we design and build something that could be used in this project and then be put to another use after the project was over? We looked for the answer to this question outside of the 16-foot concrete walls that make up MoMA PS1's courtyard. Some of you may know that MoMA PS1 is in Long Island City, which is an industrial mixed-use neighborhood in Queens, which you may also know is the most diverse borough in New York City. It's also perhaps the best and most exciting borough in New York City. And while MoMA PS1 is really a fantastic institution, it's a little insulated from all the great things that happen outside of these concrete walls. So when we started the project, we talked to MoMA PS1's neighbors. And one of the first people that we talked to was a man who ran the taxi stand that's right across the street from the museum. And you can see that this is a place where taxi drivers come and they sort of swap their cars at the end of the shift. And they made this plaza here for the drivers to wait in between their shifts, just to make it a little bit nicer. And they have some seats and some potted plants and the shade awning. And we thought this was a really, really interesting space. It ends up that the programmatic requirements of the MoMA PS1 program, seating, shade, they match with some of the needs of the neighbors, like these taxi drivers. And so what we started to do was we went around the neighborhood And we talked to all sorts of residents, organizations, businesses, and asked them, is there something that we can design and build for you using the courtyard over the summer, and then after the program is over, give to you? So we talked to kids from the local settlement house. We talked to seniors at the local senior center. We talked to toddlers. We talked to the Teamsters who were across the street. We talked to, it's a little bit slow, we talked to the Ballet School that's in Long Island City. And so all of a sudden, instead of working for one client, MoMA PS1, we were working for 50 clients in Long Island City. Here's an illustration where we plotted out all the things that people wanted. I don't know if you can read it from afar. But so what you can see on the x-axis is in the public interest, and in the y-axis is fun. And so we plotted out these different things. And so on the lower right corner, there's the Queen's Library. They were interested in books. That's in the public interest, but books are really not so fun for a summer party. On the lower left-hand corner was this millstone group. They wanted to store a whole bunch of millstones. That's neither in the public interest nor is it fun. So we concentrated on the stuff in the upper right-hand corner, fun and in the public interest. So we designed, built, or bought all the things that people asked for, things like stools and pools and lifeguard stands and lots of trees. And these are the places that all the stuff went to after the program was over, places all over Queens. But over the summer, all the stuff was stored in this courtyard. As I said, a lot of people asked for trees. We put a lot of the trees in this one side courtyard and made this kind of small forest. And it had a really incredibly wonderful smell, just earthy and damp. It was really delightful. You can't imagine what it was like the first day when the trees came in. Actually, this is an image of that day. And I should mention that there were many NJIT graduates who came and worked on this project after they graduated, like Janessa Frey, who was our construction manager. Now she's a construction manager for big construction management here in the United States. And on each one of these trees, there was a tag. And the tag said where the tree would go after the summer, to places like this, the Teamsters across the street. Remember Ossie, he asked for some trees to make his lot look a little bit better. And here you can see the trees being planted in the fall. That's where the tree room was, what we called the tree room. Just above it was the mirror room. Remember Eric Regan, his ballet school was expanding and he needed mirrors. We put them in this other small courtyard on the side. It had this kind of sort of pseudo post-minimalist look that worked very well at the museum. Here's our project manager, Joel, who installed it. And this was an extremely popular space with the warm-up crowd. You know, it was kind of like a house of mirrors. Everybody wanted to get their photograph taken in it. And then the ballet school came to this space over the summer and they did a performance there. Here you can see the program from that event. And there are the mirrors in the ballet school in the fall. So you could kind of liken our approach to that of the Iron Chef. You know, the Iron Chef is given all these kinds of ingredients and under sort of, the scrutiny of a live audience in a very short time frame has to make an amazing meal. So what we did was we took the materials that people suggested and we made an interesting environment out of it. Now here's the main courtyard. This is where the dance floor was. There was a very lightweight structure that was above it. Didn't touch the ground because we didn't want the architecture to kind of get in the way of things. Here, this is Andrew Koslow. He was someone who fabricated a lot of the pieces that we did, who now has his own sort of design build firm. And then here's that space. So it was where a lot of the stuff was sort of held in this main courtyard. It's what Barry Bergdahl, the curator of MoMA, called the public rec room. Things like bike stands, chess tables, dance floors, stools, lifeguard stands, seats. And then here, this is the ping pong table that the taxi drivers had asked for. And here you can see on the first day when the ping pong table was installed in the taxi stand. Remember these guys? They wanted games. Over the summer, foosball table in the courtyard at MoMA. In the fall, foosball table at the Jacob Riis Settlement House. These guys, they wanted a climbing wall. Summertime, MoMA PS1, climbing wall. Then in the fall, the climbing wall at Long Island City. Kids. The seniors, they wanted some outdoor furniture. Chess table at MoMA over the summer. Chess table at the senior center in the fall. And so on. We made these labels that described all the pieces. You know, it was a museum after all. And then we also made this newspaper that told the stories of our adopted clients, which you can see here. Now, this courtyard, it was a very interesting space of interaction between these different publics. We had the warm-up crowd, you know, the hipsters. We had the contemporary art enthusiasts. But we also had the people who never stepped in the museum before, the people who came to see their sandbox or came to see their tree. And they came because we organized a series of events over the summer. We invited all of our clients to come and make use of the museum's courtyard and develop programs of their own choosing. So New York Irish Center, they did a quilt making workshop. Recycle a Bicycle did a Fix-a-Flat session. The Queens Public Library did a MoMA PS1 artist read to kids. This was a very, very interesting event where, to hear an artist, David Brooks, he picked out his own book and he read it to the kids of the Queens Library. And for just this reading hour, all of a sudden the boundaries between these two institutions, the museum and the library, were liquefied. They were sort of broken down. Aerosol Arts, they did a b-boy workshop, and then they also did an aerosol arts workshop. Let me tell you, I think this was the first and only time there was an event of this sort within the walls of MoMA. But for this time, really combining two discourses and two publics in this space, and I would say creating a radically public space, even though it's just temporary. So why is this an idea worth sharing? Well, I think it's a really cool project, but also I would say that this is really an example of a project of urban revitalization. Why? Because it embraces complexity. It acknowledges that there are many, many different stakeholders with different ideas, ideals, agendas, and instead of trying to suppress them, actually tries to strengthen them, maybe even celebrate them. Second, designing and dialogue. For us, community engagement is neither a checklist nor a chore. It's really about engaging dialogues between different stakeholders in order to tap into local knowledge that we as designers don't immediately have access to. And people are experts of their own environment, and we seek out opportunities to collaborate with them at all times. And this is something that I do with my students as well. Right now, taking some of these principles, the students are doing a campus plan here for NJIT. And the first exercise that we did asked the students to identify ways that they thought the campus could be better, really tapping into their knowledge as experts of the campus itself, and see if we can develop a plan out of that. Here's some early examples of that. And designing processes and places. So architecture too often is really about sort of celebrating a kind of perfect form, but we can also design processes like here where we tried to bring different groups into the space and create settings for that to create this sort of interaction. And we've had many examples of projects where we've done that. And here's my final point. Design means taking sides. Once you get a handle on all these different forces that are at play in any given situation, we as designers shouldn't be afraid or bashful about taking sides. This is something right now we're working on Rebuild by Design, and we've had to ask really tough questions. Like, say, for example, with the rebuilding after Sandy, who should get the benefit from the rebuilding? These are questions that we have to ask. And so in Holding Pattern, what you saw is that instead of the investment in this, albeit a very small investment, into this courtyard, instead of it just benefiting the institution, all of a sudden it benefited all the people who then were involved in it. And then that benefit extended after the project was over because those things went to those people. And I think I have not enough time to talk about the last 2 slides. So let me close. I would say that every single situation that we work in space is a political one, and we should not be sort of afraid to sort of fight for the ideas that we believe in, but also for the people who need our help. Thank you.